I've changed my mind about backing fabric for this little quilt. The little floral one that I had picked out, I realized it was a directional print, and it was a little bit on the stiff side, so I got to looking in my Christmas stash, and I found this snowman fabric that has all the colors in it. The only thing is, it's a directional print too. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, I've already trimmed the selvage off, and I'm going to stitch this down the center vertically, and I can do one of two things. I can put it on widthwise and have the seam going down the middle. The only problem with that is you get a little bit of a buildup on your take-up bar, which that won't really throw me off because I float my quilts. So I might just go ahead and do it that way. If that doesn't seem like it's going to work out, then I can just turn the backing and the quilt long ways on my frame, and that'll fill my frame up pretty well, but I can do it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this backing together. I'm going to make a vertical seam down the center, and then I'm using 4 yards of fabric for this quilt. So I cut it in two 2-yard sections, and now I'm going to stitch those together vertically. If I was doing the regular way, I would use the same amount of fabric, but I would stitch them horizontally along the selvage. So in other words, they would be turned this way. But as you can see, that would make my snowman off. Anyway, I'm going to see how it works out. Hopefully this will work out. This is really soft and cute. So okay, now I'll take this to the ironing board and iron that seam open. I don't really have to iron the rest of this except for maybe the creases, because it's pretty much wrinkle free already. Alright, let me get that done and we'll get this on the frame. I have my quilt top quilted. All I need to do now is get my binding made and put it on there. All I did was make some shapes that were similar to poinsettias. Not sure how well you can see it on there, but there you go. And some loops. This went really quick. Let me show you the backing. Like I said, the backing was directional. So what I had to do on that was I had to piece the very bottom part of it, the same fabric, but just had to put a piece on the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, right here. You can barely see it. So here's the thing. I usually get 4 yards for my backing for a large throw size quilt like this, and I have discovered that, and I remembered reading this somewhere too, that if I'm going to make one with directional fabric with a seam going down the middle, or a vertical seam anyway, I'll need to get 5 yards instead of 4. I had just a little bit left out of my snowman fabric, basically just what I cut off from the edges. So anyway, it was pretty close, but there was enough. So now I'm going to come back over to the sewing machine and show you how I'm making the binding and what I picked for that binding. I tried several different colors and prints out of my Christmas stash, my strips that I had made and all of that. I finally decided to go with this little off-white with a snowflake, white, sort of beige on white. I'm not sure you can see it very well there. It has little snowflakes on it. So that's what I cut for my binding. I thought that would go good with the front because it would make the white stand out in the front on the top, and then the The back, of course, is mostly white, so it would be fine there. I'm just putting my binding together with my folded corner clipper ruler by Creative Grids. I'll kind of show you how that works if you're not familiar with it. So I'm leaving the selvages on for now. The one that I just attached, I'll turn it sideways, and I'm putting it face up, and I'm turning the next one face down, and I'm using my selvages on both sides to give me a square corner. And then I'll take my Creative Grids folded corner clipper ruler, and hopefully you can see this. It comes to a point right here on the 1/4 inch line at the corner. Same thing over here. So now that I've got that there, I'll just take and snip those off. And I'm very careful. I'm going to slide it outward without moving it. And then put a pin in out of the way of where I'm going to put my seam. And then I just take and stitch it along there from this corner to this corner with a 1/4 inch, with my 1/4 inch foot that I've got set up here. Don't worry about all that. It'll work itself out in a minute. And now I'll take off the last one that I did. Snip it. And so there you can see, all I have to do now is snip these little parts off on each side, open my seam up and press it. Okay, here's the one I just did. One more time, this is my last one. Okay. All right, I've got all of my pieces together. All of my seams look great. Now all I have to do is snip these little pieces off and then open it up. Press these open, press it this way, and it'll be ready to put on that cute little Christmas quilt. Okay, as you can see, I am stitching this binding onto the front of my quilt. So I will flip it over to the back side. And I do not hand stitch my bindings, but I will machine stitch it down when I'm finished. And I will make sure that I have a color on my top that matches this green and red. Probably be green or gray or something like that. And then I will have white on this side so that it blends in with the white on my snowman fabric. So I'll keep working on this, and when I get it all stitched on, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm just moving around to my last corner on my quilt turn. You can see this is where I started, right here. So just got this much to go. So let me finish this and then I'll tell you a little bit about how I did this particular one. Okay, I hope that you can see that I am stitching right along the edge of my folded over binding, and it's folded over from front to back. So what I did was I stitched it onto the front, just like if I was going to hand stitch, and then I flipped it over to the back. I used a green thread on my bobbin so that it wouldn't show up very well. And then I kept the white on my top, on my needle, so that I can stitch this down and it would show white. And the corners work the same way as usual. Fold one under and fold the other one on top of it, just like if you're wrapping a present. Now, I hope you can see this on the back. It pretty much looks like if you were going to hand stitch it down on the back, except there's a little green line of stitching right next to my binding. It's almost like a stitch in the ditch, but I'm doing it from the other side. But the thing I wanted to tell you about this type, and I guess this is true of any binding job that you do, make sure that your 1/4 inch doesn't get too big when you're sewing your binding on to the quilt before you flip it over to stitch it down. Because if that happens, especially with this, then when you go to stitch it down on the underneath, your stitching could show up on the front of this, and you don't want that. You want it to blend in. Choose a color that blends in with this for your bobbin with your top. In my case, I chose a dark green. I had a bright green and I had like an army green to pick from, and I picked the army green because I thought it would blend in better. So yeah, that's about it. And I'm pretty happy the way it turned out. So to me, binding is an ongoing learning process because it's not something that I really enjoy doing. So, but I did want to try and show you as much of this as I can. This is the first Christmas quilt that I've finished this year so far. I've got a couple more that I'm wanting to do and even have already started on, but this one is ready to go. So let me put it on the long arm and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, that's about as good as a full view that I can get. I don't have a design wall in here. I have windows in all my walls, almost all of my walls. But there is this side of it. Not professional, it's just organic. I'm an organic quilter. I guess that's what I would call myself. But there's the binding, how it came out. Alright, so there it is, and let me show you the back. I do have an offset vertical seam, and the reason I have it offset from the center is because I had to take some off of one side and then add it at the bottom, as you can see down there. But I mean, you can't really even tell unless you're looking for imperfections. which most people that I give quilts to do not do that because they're just glad to get one. All right, that's going to be it for today, and hopefully that I'll have another video soon. I'm not making videos just to make videos for YouTube. I'm just documenting what I do in my everyday quilting life. All right, I would love for y'all to subscribe if you haven't to my channel. That way you'll get notifications when I put out a new video. Thanks again. God bless y'all.